Yeah, so to get started, the first thing I wanted to go over is we got some feedback during our last team sync on Friday that generally we are worried about like the quality of the papers that are like at the homepage, because in theory we've had like a little bit more traffic coming to ResearchHub, and in order to like capitalize on some of the attention we're getting, we'd like to like make sure like all of the papers on the homepage are like kind of interesting to like the random person who might show up. So I guess just generally, like I'd love to hear if you guys like just thoughts on the quality of the homepage. Like, do you also feel the same way? Like, wish it would be improved, or are you totally satisfied with how things are currently?
I think it could be a little bit more informative on what's going on with any given paper. So for example, now in the bottom left there is a small small place for users, and I'm not sure, are these the users who have uploaded the paper or they have added a comment? Doesn't seem to be the later. So I'm wondering if we could use this space in the bottom of the submission to indicate useful information for potential potential users and participants of the conversation. Like, this is how many comments it has right now, or like the users that have commented so far, things of that nature.
Okay, so just to repeat back to you, I'm sharing my screen now. You're saying like this part right here?
Yeah, what is it?
Yeah, so this is supposed to be like users who have interacted with the post. I agree with you that intuitively, this to me looks like someone who submitted it or commented on it. I also think this is counting now is like if you upvote it. So when I refresh this page in about a minute, my picture will be here as well. So it's basically counting people who are upvoting the posts. So yeah, curious what you think about that.
Oh, that I'm not the biggest fan of. I don't think it serves the function that you wanted to serve. I don't think I think the number of people should only be represented or visible from the number of upvotes. So I know right now it's diluted by the tweets, right, and however else you get the upvote number from. But I don't think it should be there in the bottom left. I would be very curious to see how it would look like if we could post there, like how many comments are there on the paper. And I've seen from the agenda, today's agenda, that you are introducing the ask a question feature, and that could also be something that can be there, kind of like 2 unanswered questions right now, for this paper, as in inviting the users to come in and see what's up, what's inside the paper, right? So I think a lot of the things on the page, on the main page, should be inviting to open a particular paper, right? And for it to be inviting, it needs to state what's inside or what can be done inside, right? So how can you participate?
Yeah, I totally agree with Anton, but the only comment I have is like we discussed last time, we've got a lot of nonsense comments, and if you then see like there's a lot of activity, you click on the post and then you get redirected to a page that's full of nonsense comments. That's maybe also not really ideal. So yeah, maybe really like fixing the problem with all these nonsense comments lately might be like high priority in order to make it more open, like Anton suggested.
I think that makes a ton of sense. I think probably the number one thing we're struggling with right now is the spam users, and in general, I think it's a huge turnoff to like really academic type users when they come to the site and they see commentary that doesn't look like it's actually being productive. So yeah, I totally agree. Pat, do you want to just mention for like a second what we're thinking when it comes to spam prevention?
Yeah, there's there's a couple avenues we were thinking. At one point, we were thinking, hey, maybe we want to almost like you have to be a verified user for your comment to show up in the feed. But we're not like, we're still debating that basically. And the way you get verified is either you have you link a .edu account, or once you have been verified, you also have like 10 invitations or 5 invitations that you can invite somebody else who will then be verified themselves. So we were thinking about some kind of systems like this to prevent spam, but we're still not sure whether we go forward with those. We're working with a company called Sift Science. They have a machine learning solution. It hasn't 100% worked out for us, but we're talking with them very soon and trying to get like more. We're trying to work through our use cases and seeing if they can work better for us. So, yeah, we're trying to figure that out currently, like how to prevent, or not prevent, but like how do we not show these users who are spam users? So,
in theory, the Sift Science should work pretty well. And so for whatever reason, like we've had issues with it recently. So hopefully with a little like TLC from their team, we'll be able to like optimize things a little bit better. But Philip, in general, like I think this is like going to be an issue for a while. It's not going to go away. So if you have any like thoughts that come up where you're like, oh, hey, like this might be a cool solution, like if you post it in the community channel, and we like discuss it, that's like it's makes a very strong argument for me when I take it back to our team to be like, hey, here's the solution, when I can present like, oh, here's a community, like an idea submitted by the community, and everybody also likes it. So like it just makes it much more powerful when I'm like, hey, here's a potential solution that everybody already likes. So yeah, any thoughts, like feel free to share them. We can chat, dig into them a little bit more. Yeah, I agreed too, Anton, that like that portion of the card on the homepage should probably have like more like actual useful detail than with just the upvoters. So the solution that we've come up with to increase the quality on the homepage, just as like a quick fix, just to see if things get better, is to make sure that like only posts that have been submitted by users are allowed to appear on the front page. So we'll still auto upload papers, and they'll be kind of like hidden in the UI, and just on the homepage for any hub and the homepage in general, like all the papers in theory have to be good enough that like an individual wanted to share them. One thing, Anton, your comment made me think of is like, so if we're moving towards this like more user generated like display for the homepage anyway, like I almost like the idea of putting the comment count back up like on the homepage card, because we could kind of like, so the papers won't change as much, right? But we could double down on like putting comments on every post. So in theory, like the top 5 posts all had like 2 or 3 comments, where if I'm a new person from an academic background and I stumble upon ResearchHub, like all the papers are interesting. And then as soon as I show up, it's like there's a small bit of like conversation starter that I could potentially like low barrier to want to hop into. So
yes, that's absolutely what you want to showcase. The place needs to look inhabited, right? So once you log in, it should look like a place where you can interact with actual living, meaningful people, not have a bunch of papers that have 0 comments or fake nonsense comments.
Yeah, and I think just one comment about that. Yeah, if we go with that approach and it makes sense to show the number of comments, I would say we need to make it more explicit, like with a tooltip or something like that, that you're looking at like comments, like just to resolve any confusion about what does this section mean. And maybe also remove the banned users. So I see a bunch of like avatars with like a banned avatar, so probably just scrape those as well.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable to me. Does anybody not like the plan of just having user-submitted content on the homepage?
Do we currently have any incentive for people to upload papers? So I'm a little bit out of the loop. I don't know what actions actually yield research coin right now.
Yeah, if you get upvotes on your on the paper you submit, you will get some research coin. Yes.
Okay, I did not know that.
Yes. We need to be careful here because we saw when we did the RSC giveaway that people were gaming the system and they're basically trying to create hundreds of accounts to upvote their own content. So we need to figure out. We're also trying to figure out a solution here to not have that happen again.
Yeah, I think spam is just going to be a pain in the butt for the next 15, 20 years. It's never going away.
I was going to say, it's like an impossible problem whenever you have incentives for people to, like some people are going to be incentivized to make as much research as possible. So it's going to be.
It's almost like it kind of reminds me of like a really delicate puzzle where ideally we'll get to the stage, maybe it's just in my dreams, but like the best way to spam ResearchHub is to provide a useful service somehow. You know what I mean? So I do think like eventually over time we can harness the spammers and use them for good. But yeah, that's probably, much easier said than done. Okay, so if you guys feel good about the first topic, I think it makes sense to move on to the second. We've been building out like the ability to add new post types to ResearchHub, eventually, which will hopefully culminate in like kind of electronic lab notebook where people can publish like data sets or like preprints or pre-registrations or methodologies, like in theory, many different kinds of research outputs. Pat has a demo of this Ask a Question feature, so we wanted to go through it on a screen share and then just hear what everybody thinks. Pat, do you have the screen share?
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Okay, so ignore this account is under review. This is my local machine. So we are building out this new kind of thing here where before this used to just be add a paper. And that was kind of the only content you could add to the site. But now we still have the add a paper, but we want to start adding more free-form text content. The one we will launch immediately or like imminently, like very soon, is this like ask a question or start a discussion. Like this might not be the right title for this, but basically we want a way that people can create content that isn't necessarily tied to a paper. And so, yeah, once you select that, you basically get pushed here. Where you can pick a hub that you want this to live in, give it a title, and then we are building this kind of text editor out so that we can more easily do certain things like tag papers, tag users, add files and images and things like this. So presumably if you were, let's say you had a conference paper that you never published anywhere, we would want you could use this system to go add that. Like if you had some kind of slides, you can go add a file here, and just not a link. So that stuff's still in development, but you could add a file. Then you can also write some kind of text here. And so we're trying to figure out, hey, what we don't 100% know what people will add from this kind of thing. But yeah, I was curious what you guys' thoughts on something like this is.
How will it reside in terms of the homepage?
Yeah, it'll look basically the same. It'll be in the feed as well, and it'll look roughly the same as the paper card. Let me pull up. Someone has a screenshot in Slack.
Are you thinking of having like different labels?
Yeah, we'll tag it differently. Yes, but it'll basically look very similar. Where like the title is the title. We'll have some preview text of what someone posted, and then a preview image if that exists in the post. And so it'll basically live very similarly to this, but we're gonna tag it differently, so you could very easily tell this is a paper, and then this is like a I don't know, freeform post. So.
Yeah, I think it's quite a risky feature because it might further detract from the the seriousness of the platform.
I can totally see like especially if you're a spammer, you'll just spam these kind of posts a lot. I think that's something we're definitely going to need to watch out for, and we can easily shut the feature off if we feel like, hey, there's too much like nonsense going on. We can just shut it off quickly. So
I feel okay. So my problem, not problem, but my worry is that it's actually going to be quite high quality of the content, but it's just going to be this regular dudes talking type of content, like, oh, hey, has anyone like what is the, I don't know, something that sounds scientific, but
right. They do that on Ask Science a lot. I've been here.
Right.
Yeah, like a bunch of people come to this subreddit and like they're kind of just regular dudes, and then like make it sound like they're smart, but like they don't really have science behind what they're saying.
Right.
But there's also a lot of people who post on here who do have like very scientific answers and like are backed up by like papers and stuff, and they post that. So kind of like what we want to try to get is try to understand what kind of posts and conversations people can have and see if that's worth having on the site.
Okay, I think it needs to be very strictly and obviously and saliently segregated between the scientific content, and because think about it, right? So one of the goals that you have posted somewhere is to provide useful index of career progress, like impact in science, right? So like ideally in 30 years or something, you could apply for a faculty position and have your ResearchHub account in your resume or something, right? So if this was ever going to be the case, your score, the contribution score as a researcher needs to be something completely separate from the score that people get, when making like jokes in the comments or something,
Right.
What about reducing it to, like you mentioned, conference papers? So it would probably take a lot of manual work, but tagging it to a certain conference, that could be one idea. Like beta test that.
Yeah. We were thinking people could also upload like some kind of data sets here or something else. And we kind of wanted to leave it kind of free form to see what people would kind of publish, and it would take, we were thinking maybe it takes like, I don't know, a couple of months to really understand like what do people publish here? What do they want to publish? When they publish something, like what's the response, So we didn't want to, I guess, constrain it too much in the beginning, but I think what we'll do is like if we see a bunch of spam on it, we're gonna have to turn it off. And we see a bunch of junk, we just turn it off, and then we try different stuff. Like we try to push like, hey, submit a conference paper, or hey, submit a data set, or hey, submit like something that you've done that like maybe isn't good enough to get published and like isn't worth it, but like you still want to share it with people. So
two user experience related points. One, I think it's nice to have a preview option. Like, so because if I'm writing this content, like I'm curious how it looks like in actual page online. And yeah, that's one thing. And second thing is like, will I be able to edit the content after I post it?
Yeah,
That's
you will
my
be
thing.
able to. Yeah.
Good. So okay, so maybe like that should be clear on the page.
Got it. We'll do that. And so in terms of like a visual distinction, we do have some designs that make these things visually distinct. I don't know if we want to go with these or not. Like we did make it some designs where like these are the kind of posts that are not papers, and then below are the posts that are papers. And so I don't know how you guys feel about that, of like some visual distinction there, or we can even like do this where we separate by tabs, where we can have different kind of sections there. So
separation by tab sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Or maybe no, go ahead.
This reminds me, Kobe, of the presentation you gave where like in the hubs, there's like a delineation between like output. So I'll share my screen here. I've got, this is Kobe gave a presentation about a month ago. And so let me pull it up. The idea would be like, if here's the home page, this would be like a hub specific home page, and like the first tab could be papers, the second could be Q&A, the third could be data sets, or like having delineation of content types like up here, so that way when you come to the homepage, you could just see, full-fledged papers with DOIs, and then if you wanted to dig into the deeper stuff, which may be, a little bit more murky, like you'd be able to filter them at the top.
Yeah, and I think what Pat just showed, I think that's kind of like it, right?
Yeah.
Which is good because it's also consistent with the search that Tatiana is working on. So I like that.
Yeah, I don't know if any of you guys remember the old Yahoo contributor network, where you could just upload like a slide of something, or like an essay or poem or whatever.
Really? Yeah.
And then you had something similar to this. So you had like your Q&A, data set, whatever, slides. And then you would click, and then you would get like different subtopics. Like this slides about this, data sets about that. So I don't know, it probably something to think about.
Yeah, I think filtering the content types by the different hubs would definitely be cool. To like, if you were at the home page, to have another filter below each one of these content types. Okay. Does anyone else have any more like general feedback on that? We have like 4 minutes left, and there's one other thing we want to cover.
One quick general feedback is that even though there's probably going to be problem about spam at the beginning, maybe in the future too, I think it's super awesome that you guys are doing this. To me, a feature like this is very important to make ResearchHub more useful and more full-fledged, instead of just being a repository of papers. So yeah, good stuff.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, so the next thing that we wanted to talk about, and this is like kind of inspired over the past couple of days from an idea that Patrick had, and then Nick actually reiterated it like when I just spoke with him. But so in theory, like there's a lot of unifying needs between all the fields of science, but like if there's going to be a journal for bioinformatics, like there would be some like field specific value propositions that might not apply to like a journal that covers botany, for instance. So one thing we've been thinking about is potentially starting to allow customization of each hubs. So Nick was mentioning that in GIS, like people would want to share like files of maps. So we could potentially create features for like the GIS hub specifically that allows it to be kind of unique compared to the other hubs, and have a feature that would serve that community better than really would be like needed for the botany hub. This ties into a little bit of what we might do with open source development too. So if you're like if you're in a small field and you have the ability to add a feature that like you really want, you could do that on your own and kind of give the power to like individual scientists to build each hub into whatever they wanted it to be. So I'm curious just overall if you think that's an interesting idea.
At first glance, it feels like, I don't know, at least to me, it feels like more flexibility would be more preferable than just, perfectly customized hub for just you, right? Because there might be other people in the field that disagree on your vision, how it should be structured. So I think ultimately in the end, right, because it seems like you're moving in the direction of micro publications and the normal publications and pre-registrations and everything, you should maybe implement the ability to create depositories for files of any files, right, be it maps or scripts or data or whatever, regardless of the hub, maybe. But that's just me.
I think that's super valid feedback. I think in general too, adding complexity, especially at our early stage, is not always ideal. So the reason I like it is because it, to me, feels more like community driven. And I think having that, general as one of our values as an organization, I think is good. But you're totally right that this could easily be another tab like on Kobe's designs where it's like files, right? Which could have like data sets, maps, like anything. So I think that makes a lot of sense.
But we could definitely go this way. In terms of building community, I think this aspect is currently actually lacking because there is no way for people to meaningfully interact with each other than stumble into each other in comments. So if you do want to go this route, I would very much be glad to see pages like community homepage where or community chat or community file repository or something, right? So something people can like enter or be part of, subscribe to, so they can get exclusive or non-exclusive access to whatever is going on in the current community, right? So when people can create other types of pages, except not just the papers or the questions, they can create whatever the hell they want.
Yeah.
It's funny, our tagline is GitHub for science, but one of the I think use cases that we have requested a lot is like the ability to replace Slack or Discord. So like having that wiki and chat for each hub, I think would be really cool. So Pat and I actually have another call right now, so we have to hop off. But thank you guys for joining. This is super helpful. And then we'll post the recording so that way everybody else can see. So thanks for being open to that too.
Cool.
See you, everybody.
See y'all.
Thanks, everybody.